Hello, I'm Tony Mangino from TC2, and this is Staying Connected, where we talk about what really matters to enterprise buyers navigating today's technology and sourcing decisions. On a recent two-part series, we addressed the topic of technology debt, both the hard dollar costs and the constraints on innovation and transformation. I'm joined today by Keith Cook, my longtime colleague here at TC2, to pull on that thread a little further and discuss specifically the transformational opportunity in the context of networking. The evolution toward internet first wide area networking can be daunting, but the upside gains in operational efficiency, application performance, and sizable cost reductions demand the attention of enterprise customers. The reality is that the longer you wait, the more expensive and disruptive that transformation and retiring that technology debt becomes.
Hi, Tony. It's great to be back on Staying Connected. And to set the stage today, when we say internet first wide area network, we mean a network where secure internet access, dedicated internet, broadband, and wireless become the primary underlay for most sites and applications. And the legacy private networks like MPLS are the exception, not the default. And while it's true that many large enterprises have adopted internet first WANs already, it's not true for everyone, at least not yet. So don't feel like it's too late. And the reasons to do this are many: agility, resiliency, scalability, enhanced security, and of course, lower total solution cost. And as you alluded to, the problem is often one of inertia. That is, the enterprise has some vision as to its desired end state, but no clear path on how to get there. So nothing gets done, and the technology debt is carried forward. In short, there's just no strategic transformation or roadmap.
Keith, I agree with you. And having guided countless enterprise customers along this journey over recent years, I think it'd be helpful to discuss some of the basic building blocks of these transformations here today. Getting right to it, the first thing to do is assess your current WAN environment. Develop an inventory of all your sites, size, bandwidth, circuit types, redundancies, hardware, and all the associated recurring costs for the estate. Then map your application flows, that is internal flows, cloud, SaaS applications, and identify critical performance and security requirements around voice, video, firewalls, segmentation, that sort of thing. Finally, assess your current vendor contracts, including MPLS end dates, early termination penalties, renewal terms, revenue commitments, and the like.
That's exactly right, Tony. Once you've done that, then it's time to develop a plan for what your internet first WAN will look like. Connectivity mix varies a great deal, but it might look something like this: dedicated internet for business critical functions. And that's often dual redundant DIA for data centers and critical sites. Then wired broadband for secondary or tertiary links, or even primary links in some cases. We are seeing more of that. Finally, wireless 4G, 5G for backup, rapid deployment, or secondary connections in some cases.
Then at this stage, you'll need to determine the site types and personas that will help to organize and standardize the connectivity profile. You'll want to align circuit types and quantities as well as bandwidth tiers for each site. Diversity is also a really critical part of this discussion. Do you need service diversity, supplier diversity, physical path diversity, etc.? Now, this can get really complicated really quickly, but it's absolutely best to determine the preferred target environment and document that target environment prior to approaching the market. Now, once you've done this, it's time to select your suppliers. Tier one telcos and or service aggregators are almost certainly in the mix here. Keith, what's the best way to go about this?
Aha. Do an RFP, Tony. No question about it. For a truly transformational initiative like this, there's simply no better way to ensure that you maximize your negotiating leverage and drive to leading edge pricing, leading edge commercial terms, and SLAs than through a competitive sourcing program.
Keith, my friend, truer words may never have been spoken.
Yes. And then the next item may or may not apply to your particular situation, and that's the SD-WAN solution that you will use. You might already have one that's deployed in conjunction with your legacy MPLS network, for example, and it may be fine, or it may not be. If your existing SD-WAN is tightly bundled with your current transport supplier, then I'd encourage you to understand the licensing and exit terms carefully before you just assume that you can lift and shift onto a new transport underlay. If you don't currently have an SD-WAN solution, then you've got greater flexibility, and this should probably be addressed via a separate sourcing initiative. There are some potential synergies, of course, but the SD-WAN overlay can absolutely be sourced separately from the internet transport underlay.
Keith, that's a good point to source your SD-WAN solutions separate from the circuitry. Many network transport suppliers have their preferred partners, but our experience suggests it's often best to go directly to the supplier of the solution.
Yep, that's right. Then at this point, it's time to focus on the security posture of your new internet first network. At a high level, your organization will need to determine whether a bundled SASE solution or a custom solution stack of individual security components is your preferred approach. A single vendor SASE solution is generally preferred by organizations prioritizing streamlined operations, a consistent policy enforcement, and a holistic approach to network security. At the other end of the spectrum, though, is the best of breed multi vendor approach, which is suited for organizations with significant existing investments, very specific functional needs, and the in house expertise to manage those complex integrations. Ultimately, decisions on security for your internet first WAN should be guided by an assessment of your specific use cases, current infrastructure, your long term IT strategy, of course, budget, and then the available internal resources, deployment, and ongoing management. And of course, this just scratches the surface on the subject of securing your internet first network. But the key takeaway here is to treat security as a first order design decision and not something you just bolt on after all the connectivity decisions have been made.
Keith, before we wrap up today, let's talk about execution because really that's where a lot of internet first programs stall out. It's one thing to design a great target architecture, pick your suppliers. It's another to actually move traffic and shut off the old network. When you're helping clients make this real, where do you start?
Key is to resist the temptation to boil the ocean. We typically recommend starting with a pilot, maybe one region, a handful of branches, or a subset of your site personas. The goal is to prove out the design and the operating model in a controlled way before you scale.
And Keith, that pilot needs to be measured, not just did anything catch on fire. What kinds of success metrics do you like to see defined up front?
Yes, exactly. Quote unquote, it seems fine is not a success metric. Before you start, you need to define what good will look like. That usually includes end user experience for key application, incident and ticket volumes, failover behavior during link or device outages, and an early read on the cost trajectory versus your old legacy WAN. If you can't show that users are at least as happy and that operations is not drowning and you're on a path to lower costs, then you're not ready to scale beyond the pilot.
The important thing, I think, is scalability. Standard designs, standard playbooks, and clear ownership between a carrier, the SD-WAN provider, and your internal teams. You want to get to the point where you're effectively running a factory for site turnups and cutovers. And then, comes the unglamorous bit, and that's turning things off.
That's right. And it's very important. And it's often where value gets left on the table. As you progress through those migration waves, you need an explicit decommissioning and contract cleanup plan so that you're not still paying for MPLS ports, old access loops, or equipment that no longer carries any production traffic. Align your migration schedule with your contract milestones and make sure someone is accountable for validating all the billing changes. Otherwise, you will have built a shiny new internet first WAN, but you're still paying for the old one.
Hey, thanks for your time today and for a great primer on how to leave that technology debt in the rearview mirror and get going on your internet first transformation in 2026. To our listeners, if you'd like to discuss internet first sourcing strategies, or if you'd like to discuss other technology strategy, sourcing, and cost reduction needs with Keep, me, or any of our TC2 and LB3 colleagues, please give us a call or shoot us an email. You can also stay current by subscribing to Staying Connected, by checking out our websites, and by following us on LinkedIn.